CEO of the Jamaica Teaching Council, JTC, Dr. Winsome Gordon, is hitting back at the Jamaica Teachers Association, JTA, and its assertion that the Jamaica Teaching Council bill in its current form is a betrayal of educators. President of the JTA, Dr. Mark Smith, has said the bill is heavy-handed, prioritizes punitive measures over professional empowerment, and places too much regulatory power in the hands of external authorities. Dr. Gordon, who is also a member of the JTA, disagrees. Mahira Stewart reports.
The JTC bill has been over 2 decades in the making. According to Dr. Gordon, through the different iterations, the JTA has been at the table with several of the association's recommendations being taken on board.
In 2015, JTA presented us 7 concerns. Reverend Thwaites was at that time the Minister of Education. We made all the adjustments except 2. And so when JTA used these emotive words, I'm a little bit disappointed. We're a teaching profession, and therefore we must function as who we are. We are responsible for the upbringing of our children.
Earlier this week, during Nationwide at 5 on Monday, the JTA president raised concerns noting that only 6 teachers who are members of the association were part of the council.
Allow us to have a greater say in the quorum. So the quorum presently is at 11 out of 31 individuals, all right? And we have put forward the notion that of the individuals who have been selected by the association representing teachers, we would have 5 of those individuals, right? So we would then constitute, or 6. Even more, we'd be willing to take a little bit more.
So you'd want to give the JTA the majority of members necessary to constitute a quorum?
A quorum.
Dr. Gordon pushed back against the concerns, informing that over 60% of the board is made up of teachers.
JTA asked us first to give them 6 positions on the board. They had 4. They asked us to give them 6 positions on the board. Today, JTA has 6 positions on the board. They asked us to ensure that the representation of teachers on the board is at least 60%. As we speak today, the representation of teachers on the board is 60%. Even the church schools that asked for representation, there were just 2 of them on the board, no 4. But 2 of the 4 must be teachers. So the matter of having teachers on the board, JTA came up with that, and we said yes.
Dr. Gordon says the head of the council must be a teacher and the representative of the Ministry of Education must also be an educator. The JTC consists of 31 members. There are 19 teachers on the council. She asserted that the JTA's aim to have more of their members on the council would be unfair.
It's not a fair assessment. And what I think JTA wants is to have more of their members on the board, and that would not be fair. That would not be fair to the stakeholders. JTA is an important stakeholder, but so are the parents. The parents are important because without the parents, the profession does not exist. We have to be aware of that.
Mahiri Stewart for Nationwide News.
In the meantime, Dr. Gordon says the fine for unlicensed teachers is meant to act as a deterrent. She notes that the bill allows a reasonable time to become compliant before sanctions are levied.
As we speak, there are teachers still in the profession, unregistered, quite a few of them, and we have to be tracking them down, saying, please register as teachers. We don't need to do that. You don't put accounts in place with that responsibility, so it must be a deterrent. And we give them 42 days. They are given 42 days in all to renew the license with notification from the electronic system. So the notification starts 3 months before the license is expired, and it continues until the license actually expired, and after it's expired they get another number of days to contact the council. So if your license expired and you don't even contact the council and you go on and do as you're doing, that is complete disrespect for your profession.
The JTA has said the fine of $500,000 is punitive. Dr. Gordon argues, however, that several teachers willingly subject themselves to similar rules when they take up teaching jobs overseas.
We have had teachers crying. Recently, a lady left Canada 1-month-old baby, a teacher. She came to Jamaica to ensure she got the documentation from the council to get the license because the Canadian authorities told her they were going to send her home. So they go to countries where they're licensed, and they're happy. They do not complain, and they send back here to get help, to get the license. So I do not understand. Well, let's put it this way. People representing teachers are the ones who are saying or making comments, and a lot of them emotive.
Dr. Winsome Gordon, CEO of the Jamaica Teaching Council. She was speaking on Nationwide this morning on Wednesday. Now, ICinsider.com says with the rate of murders now holding at 2 per day on average, the trend puts the likely outcome for the year to end with around 660 homicides. This would represent the lowest murder tally since 1994. Ricardo Brooks reports.
ICinsider.com is an online magazine of investors' choice. It calls itself Jamaica's leading source of intelligent information about the business and financial markets and issued a review on Tuesday. It notes that murders in the country declined by 37.7% as at May 2 this year compared to the same period last year. According to data released by the Jamaica Constabulary Force, 236 murders have been committed so far this year, compared to 379 during the same period last year. IC Insider says the rate of murders is now 2 per day on average. It projects the overall tally to be 660 at the end of this year. It would represent a sharp reduction from the 1,141 murders recorded in 2024. It would also represent the 4th consecutive year of decline. IC Insider says if achieved, it would be the lowest year since 1994 when 690 murders were recorded. It says this year's reduction would place Jamaica around 24 per 100,000 population in the mid-range of Latin America and the Caribbean countries, in line with Venezuela's per capita murder rate. IC Insider says the country would move down from the number 3 spot recorded in 2024, but would still be ahead of Belize with 21.7, Costa Rica on 16.6, Guyana at 14, and the Dominican Republic at 9. IC Insider says while a lot of credit is being given to the security forces for the reduction over the past 4 years, not much is being said for the contribution of an improving economy and, critically, the historically low unemployment rate. It says the data is clear. Jamaica's crime rate worsened with the high levels of unemployment in the period from 1979 to 2019. That's when unemployment jumped sharply. The unemployment rate in Jamaica now stands at 3.7%. Ricardo Brooks for Nationwide News.
Commissioner of Police, Dr. Kevin Blake, says it is illegal for police personnel to ask persons for the passwords to their phone without a court order. Commissioner Blake made the point while answering questions during a post-cabinet media briefing at the office of the Prime Minister on Wednesday.
Let me first say there's a process. And the process certainly is not coercing someone on that scene to give up their password. There's a process, and it is a court order has to be made. And so it is not right. It's not legal. Let me just say that clear. And we have since communicated to our members when that came to our attention that has been a practice.
Commissioner Blake was also questioned on the ticketing of drivers where car lights are concerned. He says police personnel have been told not to continue what he described as an unfair sanction on those motorists.
We have also communicated regarding the ticketing of running lights. Okay, if you look at the strict literature of the law itself, it allows certain things to happen, except the fact that these are lights that came with the vehicle and not necessarily placed on the vehicle. And so there's a little gray area there. And so what we have done, we have sent out communication to our members to this from doing that. This is from doing.
Kevin Blake, Commissioner of Police. Vice-Chancellor of the University of the West Indies, Sir Hilary Beckles, has called for mathematics to be a key area of focus in educational reform in the Caribbean. He says this is necessary as the world transitions into a digital age. He told journalists at the UWI's annual University Council meeting last week at its St. Augustine campus in Trinidad and Tobago that the institution is working on ways to solve the issue of poor mathematics proficiency in the region.
Yes, we do need an overall comprehensive reform, and that conversation is taking place. We have a serious problem that this is a digital age, this is age of technology, of science, but we're having a tremendous problem with our young people showing proficiency in the relevant disciplines of mathematics and so on. So this is an issue I know that Pro Vice Chancellor Thompson is working through, for example, a strategy to confront the issue of mathematical deficiencies.
Sir Hilary says the availability of mathematics educators in the region is limited due to competitive offers from other sectors.
One of the biggest problems we're facing there is that many of our schools do not have mathematics graduates teaching mathematics. This is a challenge because we do know that there's a market economy there. Many of our university graduates in mathematics find lucrative employment in the private sector and elsewhere, and the classrooms are sorely missing their presence. So there are challenges all around, and yes, I do believe that we need comprehensive educational reform. As I said, not just the content of programming and teacher training, but also the institutions that are required to take us forward, and the university is involved in this. And yes, let the conversation gallop because we need to make some very short to medium term achievements in good time.
Sir Hilary Beckles, the Vice Chancellor of the University of the West Indies. European Union Ambassador to Jamaica, Dr. Iria Ascola, is encouraging Caribbean businesses to take advantage of the EU market and the already existing strong free trade agreements. She was speaking at the official launch of the Caribbean Investment Forum 2025 at the AC Hotel in Kingston on Tuesday.
Our economic partnership is firmly rooted in a legally binding international treaty, which is built on trust and mutual commitments. This is precisely what we need in the current environment more than ever. Reliable, predictable, and rules-based partnerships. And this is not just lip service. The CARIFORUM EU Economic Partnership Agreement is already delivering. It is a reciprocal but asymmetric, development-oriented free trade agreement. Having this agreement guarantees that the EU market will remain open for Caribbean exports.
The ambassador's call comes amid growing economic tensions across the world due to shifts in U.S. trade policy. This includes a heavy focus on tariffs and other protectionist barriers against goods entering the United States. Dr. Ascola is reminding the Caribbean that no such restrictions exist on goods from the region entering the EU.
There are currently no tariffs, no quotas, and there will be no tariffs and no quotas on Caribbean exports. And I will repeat, there are no tariffs and there will be no tariffs on any goods made in the 14 IPA partner countries, including Jamaica. And we are not talking about any market here. We are talking about a single market, a huge single market of 27 countries and 450 million consumers with a relatively high purchasing power. Access to this market and duty-free access to this market is something that matters for investors.
Dr. Iria Ascola, European Union Ambassador to Jamaica. To regional and international news, Belize's newly appointed Commissioner of Police, Dr. Richard Rosado, says he supports a 6-month state of emergency to help curb an increase in violence. Rosado, who took up the position a week ago, says there has been an alarming spike in gun violence attributed to ongoing feud among rival gangs. Belize recorded 89 murders last year. The police report that for the first quarter of this year, there has been a 7% decline compared to the similar period last year. But the top cop says that the recent uptick in violence, particularly in Belize City, demands decisive action. His remarks come after spate of violent incidents, including the murder of a 31-year-old man in Belize City on Tuesday and 2 others over the preceding 48 hours. International news, the Papal conclave has begun. The cardinals, 133 of them responsible for electing a new pope, are now locked inside the Sistine Chapel for the secret ballot. The secretive, centuries-old ritual of electing a new leader of the Catholic Church, opening the most geographically diverse conclave in the faith's 2,000-year history, and the red-robed cardinals entering the Sistine Chapel in pairs, chanting the meditative litany of the saints as swift guards stood at attention, has taken place. The hymn and the one that followed implores the saints and the Holy Spirit to help the cardinals find a successor to Pope Francis to lead the 1.4 billion-strong Catholic Church. Cardinal Pietro Parolin, the Secretary of State under Francis, himself a leading contender to succeed him as Pope, assumed the leadership of the proceedings as the senior cardinal under age 80 and eligible to participate in the conclave. Black smoke means more voting will take place tomorrow. White means there is a new pope. Before the doors shut, cardinals took an oath in which they promised to keep secret all matters related to the vote, and that whoever is elected will faithfully carry out the role. They will now have no communication with the outside world until a new pope is elected. And that's it for the news at 12. Up next, sports.
Success powered by learning. The time brought to you by Sandals Corporate University. Come grow with us is
12:19.
Plug into the sun with Peak Energy Solutions. We are your affordable provider for everything solar. Grid tie or off-grid solar P systems, solar air conditioners, panels, lithium batteries, solar supplies, and installation. Visit us at Shop 1, 3 Mosquito Valley Road, Red Hills, St. Andrew. Call 876-279-8820 or 944-0668. Or email us at peakenergysolutionsja@gmail.com. Peak Energy for everything solar.